Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Collector's Christmas with moi, Carl Choi. So welcome back, episode 3, and every time I open one of these boxes, it just takes me right back to childhood Christmas morning. So I want to share that surprise, wonder, joy, and delight with each and every one of you guys. Ultimately, for me, growing up, it was just these special moments that makes me look forward to Christmas every year. And as we get a little older, we don't have to wait too much anymore because we also have no patience thanks to Amazon. Ultimately, this show is about the gratitude. It's about collecting with intention. It's about being a steward of the stories and things that we get to own and hold and love, and then reflecting on these little miracles that happen every time we open up one of these boxes. So join me to unwrap the unexpected and talk a little bit about why the comic book culture feels a lot like Christmas. So before I get started, allow me to introduce you to what pays the bills around here. And so we just finished this Heroes Be Damned campaign. And Heroes Be Damned is definitely one of my favorite books that we're publishing at 24/7 Comics. Please do visit 247comics.com if you haven't already and check out what's available there. Because on top of Heroes Be Damned, that will be wrapping up soon on Kickstarter, we are also now making Bladesmith available. So often we do a extra stock when we print books for the Kickstarter campaign, and we make the extra and the rest of the stock available. And these are one and done print runs. This is my favorite from the Bladesmith campaign, which is the holofoil, and it's made after this knife that is like a Japanese pattern. We're able to find a foil that worked alongside of it. Now, other things to look out for would also be these metal collector cards. Now, mine is all mixed up. These are including both the Zero Ghost and Bladesmith cards. So some of you may have had seen or even own some of these Zero Ghost cards, but you have the Bladesmith cards. And if you back the Heroes Be Damned campaign, you'd be the first to also get the Heroes Be Damned cards. Now, not only is there a metal card set for Heroes Be Damned, we also create this card set. This card set, definitely check out the Magic Nate episode where he actually went and did a demo on how this works, but it's basically our version of Mafia, but it's with Heroes Be Damned. So many friends have now played this and have reported back with great satisfaction. So we will let you be the judge of that. But want to share all this good stuff with you because they are available on 247comics.com. We're doing a bit of a renovation there. And without further ado, I have a stack of openings today. And this stack of openings is very specific on a topic that is very meaningful to me. So I thought a good way to set up this episode is to talk about collecting comic art. So often you hear about comic art from the perspective of collectors who just value a piece of art for one reason or another. For me, I thought today would be great just to dive right into collecting tips based on the fact that you already know what published works are, which I'll do a quick recap. They're a little bit more costly. They're based on books and stories that you may recognize. You know, they do kind of at current prices, to me, falls into the investment category. It actually takes a lot to invest in comic art. But if you love it, that's a whole separate thing. The second piece is the commission world. Commission are generally, us going out and commissioning someone for work. So you should love what you commission because it's made for you. It's one-of-one. And often just also then remember, because it's one-of-one, it's for you. Most of the value really leans into you owning that piece. So don't think too much about resale value. The chances are you will not recoup your dollars. And the chances are you should be very happy with what you get because that's made for you. And the experience is really what you're buying into. The third thing is sketches. So for me, this is like a step above signature. So it's It happens often nowadays on sketch cards, comic book sketch covers like this one with Heroes Be Damned. We love Heroes Be Damned, and if you check out our Instagram, you can see a ton of the sketch covers that Vince did, or sketchbooks, which I love. Sketchbooks are amazing way to collect surrounding a theme. I went and spent a full year collecting Jokers from many of my favorite artists and some of the new artists that I wasn't as familiar with either. And so this allowed me to explore and find cool styles and different ways to explore everyone's interpretation of the Joker. I would say it's safely my favorite villain. And as you can tell, there's a lot of interpretations. So those are the three, I would say, major categories. I'm sure there's stuff I'm missing. Okay, so now that we've covered all the categories, let's dive into the unboxing. 4 boxes today, and they're all original comic art. I kind of know what they are already, and so it'll be easy for me to get through this episode a little quicker today. But what I want to do is, in between the unboxing, give you guys my favorite collecting tips that I wish I knew before I started getting into this hobby. So let me start with this guy here. I have to cover up the addresses, but this came from Mr. Vince Sunico, who is the creator of Heroes Be Damned. Boom, here we are. First of all, this one is for Mr. Lance Suarez, who made a special request when he saw this sketch cover. This is actually a little bit more than a sketch cover. It's actually Vince put a lot of time into it, but it's basically the Damned meets Wolverine, and he's, they're going at it. But Lance, this unboxing is for you. So that's a sketch cover. That's one example, and it's kind of funny. I think you're going to see examples of all 3 here, because this is actually my commission that I got from Vince. Wow. It's a DPS, 11 by 17. That means, actually 22 by 17. That means 22 across, 17 on 2 boards. But I do have a commission theme, whereas Wolverine versus Omega Red, 2 of my favorite characters. This was actually available as part of Vince's campaign. You can actually get a cover quality commission from him for a very, very reasonable price. If there's actually interest in having us drop commission spot on our website for you to purchase, happy to acknowledge that. Let us know in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, and we will talk to Vince about it. And we could maybe drop some commission slots for you guys to also participate in something like this. So I like themes. So I have a Azrael versus Batman theme. I have that Joker theme that you guys saw, of a Valiant theme. And then my other theme is my favorite matchup, which is Wolverine and Omega Red. So I think Vince freaking killed it on this one, even up to all the details of, you can't really see it here, but the details of like Omega Red's tentacles getting all cut up, and this is getting really bloody. And so what else is in here? Okay, so this is awesome because it's Heroes Be Damned #1 cover. So actually #1 wraparound. So this is a wraparound cover that for issue #1. In a way, I think it kind of began as a one-sided cover, and then when Vince realized that at 24/7 Comics we like to do wraparounds, he extended it to the left, which includes the Damned beating someone down with a stop sign, which is freaking awesome. And then let's go to, I think, issue 2 cover. These are 2 key characters, and I think in a very similar way Vince extended this as well, but I think this time to the right. Oh, actually, here. I think it's extended this way. So it's basically the Damned looking over these 2 main characters, which is freaking awesome too. I don't see the #3 cover, but I think these are interior pages, if I'm not wrong. But let me flip through these. Oh yeah. Oh man. So this is my favorite cover. This is so good. It's basically issue #3 cover. He's in the battle. He's fighting for his life. It's going down, but he's basically going up against this guy, whoever this guy is. But yeah, dude, freaking badass. All right, so here's more pages, and then I believe this is a DPS from within the book. maybe one of the chapters that showcase the heroes themselves, who will probably not survive the dam. Here's the two main characters from our series, and so that's the first unpacking. And this is awesome because as a publisher, I get to see the art up front and personal and close, and then on top of that, be able to support new artists like Vince. So, like I mentioned earlier, these are there's a commission, and then if you want a sketch cover, typically this is what sketch covers look like, and then published pages are kind of what you see here. Some of the covers from Heroes Be Damned. So all three categories covered in one unboxing. How about that? I'll kind of now give my first spiel. Tip number one: collect for yourself. A lot of people will have a lot of opinion as to how and what you should collect, but truthfully, it's like life. You only have one life. You only have X amount of time that we all share. I mean, we don't know how much we have, but we all have X amount of time. And the dollars in your bank account, that's just based on what you have. I mean, you're gifted with a set of resources and your skill sets and time and whatever else. However you invest it to get financially compensated, that's on you. So you don't know how much you have. I would say don't let anyone tell you how to collect, but listen to everyone how they collect. Because like any learning journey, you'll find in any educational institute, there's always shared interests in different categories. So you'll find yourself in certain clubs, certain circles. You might vibe with one or vibe with other. You might agree with some and not. But don't let the bullies bully you too, because I have often said the art collecting community, it's almost like we're stuck in high school. There's cliques, there's groups, and there's a lot of bullies and just posses that definitely makes the hobby less fun, but at the same time, you don't have to hang out with them. There's so many other cool groups to hang out with. And there's always going to be people ready to critique you and how you collect, but just be open to hearing different perspectives, but always follow your heart. I think make the best decision for yourself based on what you know. And it really takes time to learn that. And for me, early on, like most people, you start consuming, you start acquiring, and you just acquire based on your feeling. But without the experience, your feeling can only take you so far. So treat everyone with respect. Don't let any bad experiences hinder you from the hobby, because there's a lot of good people in this hobby. And for every person that might, lead you astray, you gotta find 2 or 3 people that is really looking out for you and want you to have a good collection like they did. Really think about that, and I think that's a good start there. So with that said, I'll go to my second unpacking. There you go. Boom. Voila! All right, this is from Magnus. I am a big fan of Valiant, and it's funny because I actually don't even remember this book, but when I saw it, I had to have it because it was a recap of kind of the Unity era. And you guys know I'm a huge fan of Valiant books. Try to get like a sample from every Valiant book. So this would be a good example of published art. That means nothing to most, but very meaningful to a few of us. And so even at kind of the published art level, you'll see as we go through this, there's different levels. So I would categorize this as something that's very personal to me and maybe a handful of other people, but meaningless to most. And on an artistic level, I would give this like a solid 3. Like I wouldn't even put this at like the top 20% because it's okay. But because it came from a particular era, it came from a storyline that was meaningful to me. I actually need to reread this. I think it was during Magnus, but I kind of want to add this to my collection. Now, did I know it was mounted to a board? No, I did not. So I'm going to have to figure out how to remove this thing safely and add to my portfolio. But yeah, Valiant, for those of you who don't know, it was one of the independent labels that came after Image Comics, I believe, and was able to ride the coattails of the 90s in a big way. What they were known for was their stories, not their art, while Image was known for their art and not their stories. So this is very meaningful to me because it has like Solar, Man of the Atom, Rye, and Magnus, Baby Magnus. So it's a really fun page. There was a comp that was on eBay, and I was able to negotiate a fair price for this, so it was pretty fun. Not great for art, but great for story and nostalgia. So there's that. A lot of people would probably tell you don't buy Valiant art, and I would probably agree with them unless you really do love them. So we do have a podcast with Southern Comic Geek and Stingray, Jason and Newell, called Valiant TLDR. So if you are subscribed to this channel, you will also get to see us live when we do these streams. But we do talk about Valiant and our love for it all. Now we're going to get into something a little bit more commercial. So this was just hand delivered to me, and I know exactly what it is. So I'll open up number one. This page is from Sam Keefe, Marvel Comics Presents. It features everyone's favorite Wolverine, and he's battling a cat. And so this leopard, what more can I say? But when I saw this, I've been looking for a Sam Keefe sample for a long time. And I think what's really cool about this is it also features Mariko, and in a very different form as we understand it, because I think back when they did this Marvel Comics Presents, it was kind of free form. So Sam Keefe got to do what he wanted. Shout out to Terry Cavanaugh, our executive editor at 24/7 Comics. He put Sam onto this, and I think this display a lot of what is the best of what Sam does, and showcases all his different styles, including the Babe. I love this. And so look, as we kind of dive a little bit deeper into these other more commercially minded published art, I do want to share a quick tip. And the tip is just to make sure you're responsible, because there's always more money but only one piece of art, but at the same time there's always more art. Yes, it's a very addictive hobby, but be responsible in what you can afford. I think that's really important. I can't emphasize that enough. You can't own everything. So my other suggestion is always to make a list. Often when you first start collecting art, you really don't know what's out there. But I think if you take the time to actually write a list down, you really take the time to process it. Because often, sometimes art is being sold to you by reps or dealers in the context of promotions. It's really easy to just react to it and just be trigger happy. Alternatively, if you have something that you love and it shows up on an auction, other people might tell you differently, but I've had a few times where I hesitated. I overthought it, and I started second guessing myself as to oh man, this is a good price for this. Oh, I want this. I always want this, but is it a good price? And then I missed it. I freaking regret it because I didn't write that down. What I for sure knew should have been written down. So by writing a list, what it does for you is allow you to think more and strategize more around what you actually want in your collection. By knowing what you want in your collection, you could ensure that when anything on your list shows up, you freaking damn well pull the trigger. And so with that said, this was a page that's on my list. Sam Keefe, Wolverine page, perfect example. I wasn't a deep fan of Sam, but I knew I wanted something that showcased Wolvie and what he does, which is kick ass, and he took on this leopard, which is awesome. And then speaking of lists, this next piece that came out of the same box. So this has been on my list for sure, because Mr. Travis Charest. So those of you who know, I am a big fan of Travis. He is one of the legacy artists, and he got to spend some time on creating 5 DC covers. So he did 3 Batman covers and 2 Detective Comics covers. So this is one of the 2 Detective Comics covers featuring the Huntress, and it's freaking beautiful, man. Lance Saras, thanks for allowing me to steward these as the next step. Yeah, he passed this to me. Not only that, he got me a signed copy of Wildcats X-Men. And why is this relevant? Is relevant because they say this is Travis's best work. If you were to follow Travis fans, many of them would look to this as his kind of ultimate work, meaning he's kind of hit the height, and he spent so much time on these pages, and you could tell it's totally like an artist's artist, where I would say every artist falls in love with this and can also declare is the best of Travis Stray's work. So Travis Stray, after he started at DC, he was on Dark Stars, and then he worked on these covers, and he went on to work on Wildcats for many years over at Wildstorm. This is very meaningful to me because I definitely recognize these covers. The funniest thing though is, growing up, I actually thought initially when it first came out, I thought it was Jim Lee with a new take, because it just looked and felt different. His face is always a little wider, and just the way he did his shapes were a little different. And this was a sexy cover, man, I'm not gonna lie. So it really stood out to me in a big way. And so let me take this out as well. The cool thing about original art is there's always like history to it all. So if you look at the back, there's stuff that we could be reading here. There's like 7/24/24 logo. This is 1992, published DC. So this is really special, man. Lance, once again, thank you for this, allowing me to steward this as a next step. And kind of going back to for the tips, I would also then give another note about relationships. I don't think I would have the art collection I have without the relationships, because many folks that I met throughout, as much as I shared that you have to kind of find your way and find your circles, I also found individuals that I highly connected with and really related. And when you relate to these folks, you realize, man, like there's nothing new under the sun. There's only people that came before you that thinks very similar. So, kind of going down the list of this relationship, some of the things I've learned is, number one, just don't be lazy, man. Do your homework, do your own research. I know it's easy to pick up the phone. Often not a lot of people like to text now or send emails, but pick up the phone, man, and talk to people. And that's probably the best way of research you can do, because the internet only tells a very, very small part of the story. It's through a lot of these relationship conversation that helps inform you and your collecting strategy, thesis, I would call it, and how you make these decisions. I was going to say another tip is to watch out for FOMO. I think it's really easy to fall into FOMO because you sign up for these newsletters, you subscribe to these social media posts, a lot of these YouTube videos, unboxing by dealers and reps. They're designed to sell to you, man. Like, we're just lazy in nature, and so we are often very unconsciously being told what to do and what to buy and what's good. For the most part, these aren't going to be on your list. They're just like goodie stuff that's being shown to you. Don't fall for it, right? Make sure it's in on your list. And honestly, if some of these things show up and they were already on your list, then perfect. Like, watch these shows and keep track. But that's also one of the like really fun like element of surprise moments for collecting comic art. And another tip would be auctions are dangerous. I would say always to think about what you're willing to pay ahead of time, because when you get into auctions, often there's a lot of time where like pieces are presented to the public, and then you're looking for validation until your friends can get it. So you start kind of getting ahead of yourself and you start going crazy. And so what you want to do is figure out one, like what you can afford to pay, and then set a limit as to what's reasonable. It's often like, when it's close enough to the auction, put in that number and don't look back, because live auctions are emotionally driven and could be super dangerous, especially when you're like pumped full of adrenaline and it's just not a fair place to get good value. And so that's super important. I do want to shout out Lance once again for letting me have this one. This is a really special page to me. I believe now I have 3 of the 5 covers from Travis Stray. I'm okay not having all of them. Sometimes sharing is caring. You want others to share in the fun as well. It's really not fun when you try to hoard everything. You know who you are, people. Sometimes people just want to hoard everything. Like they get into this mindset that I need to own everything. But the truth is, it's actually a deterrent to adding value to your collection, because if you own everything, yeah, you determine the price, but when people feel like it's out of reach, they also lose interest. And when people lose interest, then you lose value. Now, this last one that I'm about to unpack is really special to me, because this artist, he actually, and here's a fun story that happens often. Often when we lose something, we think we lose forever. but that's not always the case. This artist, I've wanted to have a piece from for a very long time. Not only do I consider him a friend, I consider him one of the really great artistic movement in the way he does his thing. Even just looking at what the heck's happening behind it. I don't know what's going on behind here. There's like boards and stuff attached to it. But all right, I'm gonna unpack it now. Here it goes. Woo-wee! This is the cover to Cul-de-sac #1, published by my boy Dinesh at Bad Idea. And dude, this thing is awesome, man. I can't fit in this camera here, so here it is. So you could kind of see a kind of a semi-close of it. And that's what's so cool about this. If you look at this, it's almost like different pieces of board assembled, and then kind of, I don't know what he put in the bag. I'm gonna have to ask him about this. It's to reinforce it, maybe. This is really special to me. I'll tell you why, because there's a special story here. So I picked this up. Well, I didn't pick it up. He shipped it to me, but I found out this was on sale at Heroes Con. So this was, but I didn't know that until I got there and was told that it was already sold. I was so sad. It, like, my heart dropped, because I had messaged Wayshak before, when he first posted, and say, man, when how much? When is it on sale? I want this. Because I've been waiting to get a piece from him for a long time, but for some reason, like, you know, it's either like something that he's already sold or something that he's not selling, and this was a cover that he was not selling. And then when we got to Heroes Con, I asked where it was, and he said it's sold. And I'm like, what? You told me it wasn't for sale, dude. And he's like, oh, sorry, dude. Did I? And I guess someone had offered him money to buy it. And so I literally, like, you know, saw him a few more times that weekend. During those few times, I kept asking him, hey, did the guy pay yet? Did the guy pay yet? Because sometimes you just gotta hope that, like, you know, the guy doesn't pay or whatever. And you just gotta ask and don't give up. And I bugged him. We had dinner that night together with Dinesh and the crew. We basically, during that dinner, I was sad. I shared with him how, man, I really wish I had a chance to get it, because I don't know why, this cover just really spoke to me. As a kid, I dreamt about the same Chinese vampire every night, and the vampire stalked me. I remember early on the moments of how you felt the presence of the vampire behind me, and that feeling, like, this actually brought me back to those childhood dreams. And as much as it was scary back then, over time I appreciate the emotion that this piece emits, and that's why I wanted it. Anyways, after dinner, I said, dude, if anything changes, let me know, because I freaking want that piece. I ended up having, got called to set, so I had to leave early because I had to take a flight out. And the next day I messaged him. I was like, hey, did the guy end up coming and get it? And then he messaged, and then his response was, do you still want it? I was like, yeah. And he said, it's yours. I was like, what? And so, dude, I was so blown away. So this is one of those stories that kind of goes into the tip. Collecting is a journey, okay? It's a process. So going through this journey will evolve through time, and your thesis changes from eras to characters to stories to artists to brands. And sometimes you want to pick up pieces that just move you, like this. This moves me. But at the same time, it also checks off another box as a significant value, because it's published by good friends, publishing company, Bad Idea, and it's their #1. It's a title that it's coming out, I think, after Planet Death, which is like their biggest title ever. This is my way of supporting it. I freaking love it. It's an awesome title. Dinesh sent me some previews, and I should probably do a review on the book itself, because it's freaking badass. And, you know, I get to own a piece of history to me. Kind of going back to the tips as I kind of close this out. I want to land it. I don't want to go too long in this episode, but, you know, we don't live forever. Most of us, at least, can't live forever. So I don't know, unless you're a vampire, sure, you could collect everything, right? And nothing's really forever. We really have to think about the life cycle of collecting and what your exit strategy is. You have to really think on behalf of your family, your heirs, your friends, even museums, like if you can afford it, and be organized in a way to make sure that when a Thanos snap happens, someone can decide what to do with your collection, because I can imagine it would just suck for someone to walk into one of our rooms and have to try to figure out from square one what to do with our collection. So I always suggest writing down, keeping a good catalog of what you have, and then also, writing a bit of a will, like an instruction booklet as to like what to do in case you disappear. And so ultimately, recycle. Most of us don't have unlimited resources as well. So purging your collection once in a while is a really good thing, which I recently did. I did a major purge in exchange for a awesome piece that's on the way. So I'll be sharing that on another unpacking episode as well. Ultimately, if you have a grail or a major collection thesis shift, use your collection to support that. Ultimately, those are my kind of general tips. I have more specific tips if you're interested. Like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Collector's Christmas, the crazy comic art tips episode. Thank you very much. And on behalf of 247comics.com, Carl Choi saying goodbye.
Yo, 24/7 ink on the page. Heroes and villains in an endless rage. Panels like bars, every frame a stage. Comics the gospel, we break the cage.